Hello, welcome to Chinwag. I'm Kim from Pooches Galore.
And I'm Carla from Completely Canine.
And this week we're talking about timing in dog training, which is probably every dog trainer's favorite topic to talk about.
It is. And the one that I probably forget to put into as much detail as I need to when I'm teaching classes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is one that it's so what's the word I'm looking for? Like we just do it without thinking.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? When
Yeah,
you just like, it's like riding a bike. If you know how to
yeah,
do it, it's really hard to tell someone how to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. And teaching timing is quite tricky as well, but I've got some techniques for
Yeah.
people to practice at home.
Ooh,
Ooh, should we get on with it?
exciting. Let's do it.
How's your week been anyway? Been busy?
Yeah, I've been in my garden. It's been so exciting. I
I
just love it. I turn into a whole new, wonderful human when the sun comes out, even a little bit. And I end up in my garden digging everything up.
I think you're slightly further south than me. I think you've had slightly better weather than us.
Oh, northerner.
Us up north, it's been nice. Like, don't get me wrong, but it hasn't been like get out in the garden and get everything done. And also, I only like doing certain bits of gardening, and those bits aren't for now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure last time I spoke to you, you were like, I'm going to spend a whole day in the garden. I'm going to do the weeding. I'm going to put these new things in. And then I asked you, and you were like, yeah, no,
Oh
don't.
yeah, but that was because life overtook that.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to, but unfortunately, the child had other ideas as to what I
Yeah.
had to do that Sunday.
Yeah. I called my mum yesterday and I was like, I need to put these seed potatoes in right now. And she was like, okay, well, can you wait a couple of days and I'll give you all these bags to put them in? I was like, no, I need to do them right now because I'm in the garden and I need to do a job. She was like, can you plant something else? I was like, yeah, okay. I just need to do something in my garden. It's a weird
Yeah.
obsession at the minute.
Yeah, my garden just needs a good clean, and we're having the patio relaid in a few weeks. So I'm a little
Oh,
bit reluctant um to do too much and then it all get disrupted. So I'm in that weird
yeah,
place. Yeah, the
yeah.
guy that laid our patio is our old next door neighbor. He's currently building his own house. Looking at the state of my patio, I'm not sure I would want to live in that.
Oh
Awkward.
dear.
So yeah, so it's all going to get all relayed, and then the bit that wasn't patioed the first time is all going to get smashed up and laid as well. So it's big. It's going to be a big job, and it's going to make a massive mess. So
Excellent.
it's exciting.
Excellent. Just what you want for spring.
Yeah, but it'll be done for summer then, won't it? So it'll be worth it in the long run.
Yay!
So yes,
Yeah.
that's exciting. So there might be a week where I have to record somewhere else because of the banging and clattering going on.
I think you should just try it anyway.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone will really love that.
This is my new patio.
Can do a video from outside. This is what's going on. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, perfect. Really good for audio format.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, timing.
Timing in dog training.
It's possibly one of the most important elements of dog training.
Yeah, super easy to get wrong
Yeah,
or to end up like, especially with positive reinforcement, like you want to reinforce a very specific thing in your
yeah,
training. And I do find people tend to accidentally reinforce behaviors that come after it immediately because they're a little slower in
yes,
their reward marking or feeding. Um, and then we spoke about it before, actually, when you're not using positive reinforcement, when you're
yeah. Potentially even
correcting.
more,
And
it's detrimental,
yeah, it's more detrimental,
punishing
definitely.
the
But
wrong thing.
exactly, yeah. And then your dog making these associations that you
Yeah,
didn't mean for them to.
yeah,
But yeah, I think one of like the ones that kind of comes out most frequently with me with my clients is when they've got dogs that are really highly like frustrated
right.
and you're trying to teach them to do one like simple behavior, maybe like a sit or a down, but they're quite slow on clicking or slow on yesing, reward marking, and then the dog barks 3 times and then they click the clicker. And I'm like, well, what you've done is if you do that a couple of times, you've just shaped your dog sitting and barking
Yeah.
at you 3 times and then getting a reward, and he's going to do that again.
Or the other one is you're teaching a sit and you reward a paw because the dog has sat,
Yeah,
got a little bit frustrated, noses a treat in your hand and goes to like paw at it.
yeah.
And then they go, yes, and then reward. And then forever you have a sit with this little floating
Oh,
paw.
oh, the old sit paw. I know that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Little superstitious behavior creeping in.
yeah. And then also another one is so this is more about delivery as well. So people that don't necessarily use a reward marker, but they'll ask their dog to sit and then they bring their treat down to feed their dog, and the dog gets up to come and get it.
Yeah, meets them halfway.
So you're feeding the sit stand, so the dog
Yeah.
doesn't stay sit down to get their treat.
Or sit sprung up.
Yeah. And I'm like, just come up to your dog and feed them.
Yeah.
Then they'll stay.
Yeah. Or a down. Like, you've worked really hard for the down, and then you reward a little bit high, and then you've got a lovely sit going on.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's not just reward timing, is it? It's reward timing and the placement of the reward as well. We're gonna end up talking about both of them because they're quite interlinked for a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like a whole big process that happens in about a millisecond.
Oh, that's generous.
Yeah,
millisecond.
A whole millisecond where you've got to sort of, it's practice though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think with people it's practice, and like you said, there are some awesome games that you can play that help you to practice your timing. And I think it's also confidence. So if someone's there, like we've spoken about this before, if someone's there watching you or pressuring you and you've got to get the timing right, it's almost like a panic button happens.
Yeah. I do so I do use clickers in training, but a lot of the time when I'm working with like reactive dogs, I just use a verbal marker because people have got a lot. They've got the lead, they've got a dog who's, you know, going to go one way or the other, they've got their treats, so there's a lot in their hands anyway. So adding a clicker into that mix can for a lot of people just like one thing too many, and they're clicking the lead and missing the timing goes. So I just use a yes as a verbal marker instead. And I always do the mark, and I hope that they do it at the same time as me, and then they get an idea of when to say it, and I'm like, brilliant, you said it exactly the same time as me, that is perfect. And sometimes just having that, you know, if you say it after me, that's fine, we just need to get a bit quicker. But it just helps people hear when it needs to be said as well, or heard, you know, the click. Because it's more of an art of dog training. It is a skill, but there's an art to this bit of it.
Yeah, definitely. And then I've just thought about another one that comes up quite a lot as well, which is probably a longer period of time compared to that, is when puppies go outside to the toilet. If you don't mark reward within the next couple of seconds, they're not going to know that that's what it's for. And a lot of people tend to have a little pot inside, and they'll just treat the puppy when it comes back in because it's done its wee, but the puppy won't make that association.
I've literally just been, I'm currently working with a lovely family with a little cavapoo, and they were having real problems with house training, and they kept saying they've got like quite a long kitchen, doors at one end, and then their treat pot is at the other end. So the puppy goes out into the garden. It's a good 7 or 8 second walk to the grass. So the puppy was going out, messing around because their garden's quite fun, coming back in, and then the treat pot was far away, and then they were getting their treat and then having a wee at the back of the kitchen. And I was like, you just need to put your treat pot outside. Like, that will immediately fix that. Like, you don't need to do anything else, because the puppy is so excited about getting the treat that they're so desperate to come back in for the food, which is so rewarding. It's brilliant. But instead of it being outside, and then if they've done a little wee and then they have to do a bit more, they're doing it outside, they're coming back in, you're rewarding them for whatever they've done outside too late, and then they're needing a wee still. So just put your treats outside, little Tupperware pot, just near wherever you want them to go to the toilet. Put your poo bags in there as well. Have a little like station sorted.
Pee station.
A little pee station. Little pee reward station.
Elimination station.
An elimination station. We need to brand it.
I've coined it.
When Stanley was a puppy, I had a little Tupperware box, had it near the grass, exactly where it needed to be. My husband would move it every time. It caused
inconsistency.
It caused ructions. It was why is it here? Why is it not where we need it to be? Honestly. Anyway, it's fine. It was all good in the end, but you know.
But
it is house training is a classic example. And the other side of house training as well is if you go out and your puppy has an accident in the house, and then you come back an hour later and you tell your puppy off.
Rub the nose in it.
Yeah, or just shout at them, or just be like, who did that?
Yeah.
Well, the puppy obviously did it. We all know that. We don't need to ask the question. The puppy
knows.
You know, the ghost didn't do it. But if they did it 3 minutes after you left,
Mm.
you're just punishing them for you coming home. Nothing to
Yeah.
do with the wee. That's been and gone.
Yeah. And
I
same with like dogs that struggle with recall. Like I
oh
see
yeah.
this as well. If the dog goes off and like doesn't come back, and then eventually, or they run up to another dog,
Yeah.
and you're stressed about it, and then they come back to you, and then you're like embarrassed and frustrated, and you like tell the dog off or give it a tap or whatever, or a leash whack, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're mad because they ran off up to the dog, but they've just recalled to you.
Yeah.
You're punishing the recall
The
in their
recall.
eyes.
Yeah.
They've got no idea that you're telling them off for running up to that dog, as much as you think that they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And that they really know. They don't.
No, they do not know. No, I always
Yeah.
say, when I used to teach puppy classes, I was like, there will be times when you're going through your recall training where you think you've got it, and then you're in a situation and something's so exciting. Their best dog friend has turned up on the park. There's a squirrel or a cat or something, and you're going to call your dog and they're not going to come back. And if you continually call your dog, two things will happen. One, your tone of voice will become more angry because you'll get annoyed with the puppy, especially if it's raining. And then when they come back, you're tempted then to tell them off for not coming back, even though they have just come back to you. So even when they come back, as long as you say it in a happy tone of voice, the actual words don't matter anymore. They can be a little, whatever it is. As long as your body language and tone say good things, they don't know what the words actually mean. So if you do need to let out any frustrations, just say it in a really happy voice.
Yeah, even all of the swear words under the sun, as long as you've got gritted teeth and a high-pitched voice, they
exactly.
don't. This is great.
Yeah. They don't know. And sometimes that's the easiest way to manage that. But I do, like you, I see people on the field, the dogs come back to them, granted, took a bit, but then they're like screaming at their dog, being really angry. Yeah. And I was like, well, they're not going to come back to you next time, are they? I won't want to go near you.
Yeah. We've got one of our clients on Sort of Friends. I love her. She will talk to her dog in like a really sarcastic tone. So he's going through his adolescence at the minute. And if he does something she doesn't like, she'll go, oh, well, that wasn't very good, was it? We didn't really use our brain cell today, did we? And I'm like, that's a great way of doing it, because he's just like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Especially adolescents, like a key time for dogs who did know it, forgetting what they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very true. And it is about I mean, I obviously don't use punishment at all, or not in that kind of traditional, like scream and shout and hit your dog way. But you do have to be careful about the associations that they're making. Are they making the association you want them to make? And the easiest way to make sure that that's happening is to make sure your timing and delivery is correct, as in it's very quick. I mean, it used to be 2 seconds, but it's about half a second. You have to be so fast. But if you're training, that should be fairly easy because you're expecting the behavior. It's much harder if you're doing something kind of in the wild and you're doing some kind of like look at that training where your dog looks at another dog and you want to mark calm behavior, because you're kind of waiting for it to happen and then you're trying to capture it at the time. But if you're teaching a sit, you're expecting that behavior. So be mindful of when it's going to come.
And like I had a really good experience going back to the recall thing. My brain's kind of going to and fro with this. I had a client in Gundog the other day who literally came up to me and he was like, oh, so we went on a walk the other day and she went off and we did a whistle recall because we've been practicing them in class, and she didn't come back, but we did it again. And then she came back the second time and we reinforced, like we rewarded her lots. Is that good? I was like, yes. He was like, I just wanted to check that it's important that I still reinforce her for coming back rather than not because she didn't the first time. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, you need to do that. And then what you need to think is, why didn't they come back the first time? Because ideally we want them to always come back the first time, especially if something's dangerous. So yes, definitely reward them whenever they come back. I reward them even if I haven't called them and they come back to me. Like that gets a reward in my world, a little check-in. But then also trying to figure out, what was it about the first time that I need to work on? So was it that there was a sniff and they were too invested in it? Was it that there was another dog? Were they worried about something? Was it they just been let off the lead and they were just that little bit too giddy? And then you can work on making that recall perfect.
Yeah. Or was our recall too early? Like, were they fine? Because I think she was just sniffing somewhere. So was it just that, like, we just let her off, she just
Yeah.
started sniffing something, and we tried the recall straight away, and she just not had time to actually go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm off lead and going to go
Yeah.
have a sniff for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just
Yeah.
thinking about, yeah, definitely reward, but then try and work out what do we need to work on to make it the first
Yeah.
whistle the next time.
Yeah.
Because we don't want it to become a regular second or third whistle.
No, of course not.
No. So yeah, so what we need to, I think the thing as well is that we need to be really clear about when we ask our dogs to do something, what our expectations are of that, because I think sometimes like leave it and drop it are ones that get muddled up all of the time. Sometimes it's a leave it, sometimes the dog's picked something up and then it becomes a leave it, sometimes it's in their mouth and it's a drop it, and sometimes it's a drop, and sometimes it's a let go. In our house it's thank you, that means like I want that thing that's in your mouth. So it's about having, when you have a cue, knowing exactly what you mean by that, so that the dog is really clear, and then you know exactly what you're rewarding. That clarity will really help things be easier for your dog.
Yeah, definitely.
So timing is really important, prevents miscommunication, making sure that it's really consistent. You can be a bit fuzzy once they know it, but in the beginning, keeping it nice and tight. So practice is going to be your biggest way of getting better timing. And I always get people to practice on things that the dog already knows.
Yeah.
So if you're introducing a marker for the first time, to do something a little bit more complicated, a little bit more like look at that training or something, I will get my owners to do some really basic sits, downs, and get their marking of that behavior, so they get used to doing it, rather than like, here's a really stressful environment, you've got dogs all around and your dog's reactive to some of them, mark it when they're calm.
Yeah.
Go.
I like using eye contact, because you can say to people, if you throw a treat down on the floor, have your clicker ready or your yes ready, and as soon as your dog's eyes lock onto yours, you press your clicker or you say yes, and then you've got time to get another treat out and drop it on the floor, and it just repeats that opportunity for them to re-engage. And there's a very clear like expectation. It's like, I want you to stare at your dog, and not stare, but look at your dog, and the moment your eyes lock, that's when you press your button. Yeah, so that's quite a nice one, I think, for a timing practice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that just it takes the stress out of the situation and allows people to focus on one thing that they can already do. Sometimes dogs will find the look at you exercise in a field quite challenging because there's too much to look at. So
if you're just doing it to practice your timing at home, I'm eye contact where there's nothing going on, absolutely fine, easy peasy.
So just finding something that your dog can easily do. The up and down game is a really good one for that as well. Practice. And then also being proactive. And one game I like people to work on, if they are struggling a bit with their timing, they can do some things, but that kind of capturing a behavior and not knowing when it's going to come. Just getting someone to bounce a tennis ball on the floor and trying to mark as it hits the bottom of the bounce can be easy to begin with, but can be made more and more challenging by kind of people holding the ball for varying degrees of time and just letting it go. I heard another one saying, I've never done this one myself, but I've always wanted to practice it. I want to do it me rather than getting other people to do it, is watching the news and clicking when the newsreader blinks, because they don't blink as frequently as normal people. Because they're reading constantly, so their blinks are slower. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting one to play around with, because
who came up with that?
I'm not sure. It's been in my head for so long, and I was like, one day but the news is so depressing.
I can't bring myself to watch it.
Maybe I need to watch a sports headline or something. But it's looking for that blink and then clicking on the blink or marking in somewhere. And I was like, that's an interesting one if you're really looking to capture behaviors that you have no control over.
I like that. That's good.
It's a good one, isn't it? We'll have to do it. We'll have to sit down one day, find a program to watch together, and
let's do it. I will video it as well.
We'll video it's like this.
I know one. Like, it's like when we went to the running show and they had the it's like whack-a-mole
Oh yeah, the
thing. We
light
were
up
quite good
buttons.
at that. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
had one for left hand, one for right hand, and it lit up, and you had to hit one and then hit the other as soon as like as fast as possible and get your pairs in
yeah.
there, didn't you?
Reaction
Loved
times.
that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
forgotten about
definitely.
that. That's maybe what we need to get for clients, like a big board of light up
Buzzers.
buttons and be like, right, we're going to play a game.
Reward marker whack-a-mole.
We had that child helping us, though, didn't we? Not my child, random
Yes,
child.
she was very helpful.
She's very helpful, very direct. She's going to be great in a leadership role in her life later on.
Yeah.
Little bit scary, but other than that, lovely.
Yeah,
Like, I
she's
just want to
great.
play the game. Thanks, child.
So speaking of reward markers,
Ooh.
like we've spoken about them a lot, but I think they are epic and the only way that you can train really and have good timing, because
Yeah,
just having like treats coming to your dog, like a lot of people are fumbly, and we've spoken about treat bags last week and stuff like that. A lot of people are fumbly and they panic that they're not going to be able to get their treat out quick enough to deliver it to their dog, unless you've got like a squeezy cheese and you can just go really quickly. Your reward marker is, you know, a sound or word or hand signal or whatever that tells your dog a reward, it's on its way. You've just done the right thing. So people say it's like taking a photo of a behavior, isn't it?
That's the word.
So
capturing it is that.
Capturing, yeah. So that's what a reward marker is. And what that means is you can be a little bit more delayed in getting your treat out because you've already taken a snapshot for your dog and given them the feedback of, that's exactly the piece of behavior that I was looking for. That's what your treat's going to be for when I eventually manage to get it out of my bag. And they go, okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. I also like it as well because when I'm doing look at that training, so when a dog is worried around other dogs, when you're worried about something, like if you're worried about a spider in your bedroom, if you're scared of spiders, you will want to know where that spider is at all times, and you will kind of fixate on where it is. And if you can't see it, a lot of the time that's more worrying than when it was just sat there. I used to always strike deals with them. I was like, you stay there, I'll stay here, and we can all live in peace. If you move, there's going to be like a problem.
Yeah.
And so to begin with, I want to be marking our dog for calm behavior when they see another dog, but I also want them to start to disengage from the other dog. And sometimes you can do that by marking them for calmly looking at the other dog and then having that reward move their head away. Yeah. So they look back at you for the treat because they're expecting it. Then it will automatically, they'll look at the dog and automatically start to break that eye contact, and that's like the start of what we want to do. So sometimes you can play around with the marker and the reward with the delay just to start to help them move their eyes away from staring at the other dog. That's definitely one that is like, as an experienced trainer and behaviorist, you kind of know when the dog's ready to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one sometimes that is the hardest to explain to clients, like, because I do get that question quite a lot. Well, when do I mark for them looking, and when do I mark for them looking away? And I'm like, I would much rather, if you don't know the answer, you carry on marking them for looking and treating them in the opposite direction for as long as you need to until you're like, oh, I know my dog's really calm, I can see by their body language, and we're at a distance that we can cope with. Until you feel confident in doing that, I wouldn't change the setup for them.
And I was working with a really lovely couple on Saturday doing that exact thing, but they were marking, really good timing, but then like rushing to get the food around and in front of the dog, which was fine because they were marking and rewarding the behavior that we wanted. But what it wasn't allowing that dog to do was have a break from looking at the other dog, which is the bit, and that's what we worked on. But because they'd done that for a few weeks, the dog was in a much better place than when I met them the first time. And, you know, the first time she was getting really anxious, really agitated. She's frustrated, so she wants to go and play with the other dog. So she gets really so we just needed to bring it down so that next time I see them, we'll start to do introductions, which will be like the next nice step. But we just needed her. She's quite a big dog, very bouncy. She's just a bit too much for a lot of dogs. But that's where the expertise that we have, where we can read dogs and we know at what point they're at and where they need to be, can be so helpful.
That's it.
So you can have little games where you're looking for something that you can mark that's outside of the dog world, that you can just start to work on your timing. And then when you are working with your dog, and everyone loves it when I suggest this one, you can film yourself doing it. Because as much as it's cringe, you will see when your timing is off. It's so much easier when you are outside of the situation to see I was late there.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of online consults with people, and so I work a lot with videos of their dog's behavior and then them training their dog. And I think that in some ways it allows for stronger understanding of timing, because they've done it in the moment and then we're watching it back together, which I know they love. No, it's their favorite part. But they will go, oh my God, I was so late there. And I was like, brilliant. If you've picked that up, then then you're learning as well as just doing. So it is cringe. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. I know I hate it when I do it, but it is really important. And if I'm teaching Stanley something new and he's not getting it, I will film myself doing it to understand what I'm doing wrong and why he's not getting it.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's got several brain cells missing. But other than that,
poor Stan.
Poor Stan. Yeah, it is a really good tool, but I do appreciate that it's really cringy watching yourself do anything on video.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to get used to as a dog trainer as well, because you very expect yourself to be pretty good at your timing, and you watch it back and you're like, oh God, this is horrible.
Oh wow. I need to go back to dog trainer school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But it does give you an insight. I get people to film all sorts of things because often they will say, oh no, I definitely don't do that. I never reward my dog when I come home for jumping up, and I'll be like, I think you might be and you're not realizing.
Yeah,
and so
not with a treat, you're not.
Yeah, not with and then they'll record it and they'll say, I don't need to send you the video, I see what I do, I'm going to stop doing it. I'm like, brilliant. Because we just don't know what we're doing, or when we do stuff automatically. If you had to talk through how you drive, it's really hard work because you just do it without thinking about any of it. It's the same when you walk in your house. So another really good way of working on your timing is working through some free shaping with your dog.
Love free shaping. It's one of my favorite things ever.
Love free shaping. So free shaping, let's define. We always love the definition because it might be a term that people have not heard of. So free shaping for me is that you have an end goal. Pause on a box is a common one in dog training for a beginner free shaping. So you have a box, you have a dog, you have a pot of treats, and you give your dog kind of no indication of what you want them to do. So you're not luring them, you're not using a treat and kind of luring them onto the box. You're marking and rewarding small incremental steps, moving towards pause on a box. So they might look at the box, you mark and reward. You might do that a lot. You might they might put one paw towards it, or they might sniff it, you mark and reward. And you're just looking for little tiny incremental steps that your dog is offering. You mark and reward until eventually they've got paws on a box, or whatever the skill is that you want to teach. And I really have to have my patient pants on for this one.
It can be quite non-eventful for the first session, depending on your dog. Because if you have a dog, I probably wouldn't start with free shaping for a dog that is very frustrated, has absolutely zero patience, because you will just create frustration. But actually for a lot of dogs, free shaping's one of them things where it's like, well, if I just try a little thing, the resilience is there as well. So they're trying a little bit, and usually it's right, because you're putting a thing on the floor when there's nothing around, and it's obvious that that's the difference. That's the thing we're working with. So they'll maybe sniff it next, and they'll maybe I don't know, go far away from it and then come back in and do the same thing again. We did, so my level 5 boot campers that used to be my online ones from lockdown, and we used to do online Zoom sessions every single Tuesday. So one of the sessions for free shaping we did was the dogs needed to, as the end goal, nuzzle the ball around inside a cardboard box. So they had to step 2 paws in and move the thing inside it. And they all did it, like
Yeah.
by the end of it, by like 25 minutes of starting and stopping and doing other things and coming back in again. So it just shows if you've got dogs that, you know, have this like want to try and they're quite confident, it's a really good way of you practicing your timing, because you can sort of find small increments and changes on the way to that goal.
I mean, you say it's good for dogs who are confident. I think it's good for dogs who aren't confident as well. If you make the criteria really low, if you make like you say, if you're in a room and there's nothing and there's a box, if you've got a dog who hasn't got a lot of confidence, and you can break down, like even if it's just an eye move towards the box, mark and reward, you can build confidence in that dog, because they'll be like, oh cool, I do stuff and the stuff I do has a good outcome, so I will do more of it. I do it a lot with dogs who have come to me having previously been trained with aversive methods, because dogs who have been trained with aversive methods are very shut down and are unwilling to try stuff, because trying stuff often elicits an aversive reaction from their owner or handler. And so they become very like, I can't do anything, because if I do something bad might happen. And actually making a little game, very low criteria, very high reward, can really bolster that dog and be like, oh my God, I can do stuff and nothing bad's going to happen to me. So
yeah, and I think that that's something that if you work with a trainer that is good at it, will go really, really well. I would say if you're wanting to start free shaping and you've got a dog at home and they are really nervous, I would always just ask for a little bit of maybe advice on it, to know, because your timing is going to probably be very different than what it would be also if it was for a dog that's really confident, because they're going to move into that space and work with that thing really quickly. Whereas if you've got a dog that's kind of crept forward a little bit and you're like, well, I think my first thing should be that it sniffs the box. And you don't know how to break that all the way down, your dog's going to come in and go, no, it was wrong. Like I can't do it. So it's just making sure that you really work at a slow pace.
And that's why having your patient pants on is really important.
Patient pants.
Because Stanley gets very fixated on treats. So if there's food in the environment, he finds other things really challenging because he just wants the food. And that like overshadows everything else that he knows he needs to do. So fab. Anything else that we
I think, like you said about managing the environment. So
making it successful. So managing the environment just means making it so the dog's going to be successful. Therefore, timing is easier. Reward placement can come into that as well. Like if your pot of treats are inside and you need to reward outside, that is managing the environment.
And I think the big thing is knowing what you want to reinforce and being very clear in what you want to reinforce, so that you are clear when you need to time your reward marker. Because if you know exactly what you're looking for, then it's clearer for your dog. Whereas sometimes in classes people are like, oh, do I, like especially with stays and stuff like that, people are like, well, when do I mark the sit? And I'm like, no, what do you want from this? I want my dog to wait. Okay, so what you need to do is mark the having waited. Like that's the point that you're looking for. That's the thing you're teaching.
The weight and the stay are really difficult from a timing point of view, but also maybe a bit easier from a timing point of view, because as long as the dog hasn't moved, you can mark and reward it. If you need your dog to be able to stay for a certain length of time, like in agility where you want them to wait on the start line until you have got to a certain point to set them off, you need to make sure that they've got that length of wait. But it is one of those, it's a bit muddy, because like you've got kind of, you're rewarding, and do you want to reward where they are? Do you want to reward them somewhere else?
So reward placement changes, doesn't it? But like feedback in terms of your timing is still totally still the same.
Totally. You just I think with weight, so mine are very different. Stay means stay exactly where you are, and I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to reward you where you are. I do not want you to move at all. And wait means wait there until I tell you to do something else, and then I'll reward you away from that.
So whereas for some people wait is we're moving and we need to stop. It's like a stop. Or just hold on a second, like just you know, we're going through a gate kind of. Wait,
or okay, getting to a junction or something, and I don't want you to go around a corner. It is. But that's about being clear on what you mean with your words.
Just clarity. Everything's about clarity.
Clarity, timing, placement.
Yeah.
Dog
boom.
training done.
Mic drop.
That's it. That's it. We're done. We are done.
Yeah.
Right then.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll leave it. We'll see what we come up with for next week.
Yeah, maybe what we could do is just write one of those games down for people in the chat. And
fab. So Carla is going to write one of those games down.
That's my job.
And you'll find it in the notes afterwards.
Yeah.
Can't wait to
here's a challenge.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well volunteered, Carla.
Thank you.
No worries. Anytime. See you next week.
See you next week.